بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على نبيه المصطفى وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Welcome all of you guys, both in class and online. Today we have one of the best students from GlobalNet, Zakaria Mohamed. He's here to share his tech journey, how he started, how he got the job, what does he do, and all other questions. He will take us through his journey, inshallah ta'ala, and hopefully that will inspire a lot of us. And in terms of delivery, we might mix both Somali and English. And Zakaria is basic both, mashallah. And if I ask you the first question, Engineer Zakaria Mohamed, you're in tech. And people start tech for different reasons. Some of them are attracted because of money. Some of them are because it's easy, flexible, allows you to work from home. Some people join the tech sector because it's fastest growing sector now. So let me ask you, what attracted you to join the tech sector? What was the main reason you came to the tech sector?
So Bismillah. So Assalamu alaikum guys. Thank you for all coming. So the reason why I joined the tech sector, my journey in the tech sector started when I was very young. So my dad used to have an internet cafe, and it was a good opportunity for me to get hands-on with technology from an early age. So at first I would just go to my internet cafe just to play games and stuff, to play GTA, Street Fighter, and then eventually I started learning the ropes and learning how to operate an internet cafe. So that was my initial journey when it came to IT. And since then, I've been attracted to the fact that IT, you can work from anywhere. And being able to work remotely is a key sort of feature that I look for a job. And that was one of the main things that were attractive to me when it came to IT.
The reason is flexibility.
Flexibility.
And working from home.
Exactly.
Or maybe sometimes going to the office and sometimes working from home. And that's
Hybrid.
what they call hybrid. Yeah? Okay, in terms of development, of course, if you want to join the tech sector, you have to learn the skills, you have to gain knowledge, you have to, of course, do the hard task, which is to do the courses. So take us through the courses you did at GlobalNet when you came to, I remember it was Wajibal, sir?
It's in Whitechapel, yeah.
So take us through the courses you did at GlobalNet.
So the first course that I did was A+, which is just a foundation into IT. And then once I did A+, I did Network Plus, which is more network related. You guys, I'm sure you're all aware. And then I did Server. So I did 3 courses.
Okay, so you did 3 courses. You started from Committee A+, and Network, and Microsoft Server. Out of the 3 courses, which one do you think was the easiest or the hardest or was more enjoyable in terms of your experience?
I'd say A+ was definitely the easiest. I would say that networking was probably the most interesting for me. Just getting to understand how computer networks work together with each other as well. So I would say that was probably the most interesting one. But yeah.
Do you know when you completed the course, of course, there are a lot of people who come to the school, they do A+, they do network, they finish server even, and yet some of them still, maybe they have fear, they have reluctant to apply the IT jobs. So what motivated you to apply the first IT job?
Man, I'll be honest, I was working warehouse and I was like, I can't continue doing warehouse. My back was hurting. Every day when I go to work, it was a chore, it was a task just getting out of bed. So I said, so I told myself, I'm going to apply for IT roles and try to forward myself and hopefully earn a career that paves the way for me to make more money.
Okay, which is quite good because now you mentioned you used to work in warehouse, and someone like you, very young, I think you were born here, maybe raised here. Yeah. Whenever I see someone like that, born here, raised here, speaks good English, knows the system, has qualifications like GCSE and A-levels, and works at warehouse, I feel pain. Yeah, the reason because I know what that person can achieve. Because our Somali people are talented. Yeah, and sometimes I sit with them, even if I go to Westfield, other places, and I see young men or women, female, whatever, Somalis, I sit with them. Okay, halal job, mashallah, you're doing great, but how long do you want to continue this? And warehouse even is worse.
It's the worst.
Because retail is better than warehouse, isn't it?
My warehouse is the worst of the worst.
Okay. So, mashallah, I'm happy you have the courage to exit that type of job.
Sure.
The dead end, of course, and difficult. And now you are in tech, mashallah. So what we need, we have a lot of people here who did have the same journey as you. They did A+, they did network, they finished or finishing now Microsoft Saver. And still I'm pushing a lot of them. Guys, you are ready. Put CV together, go through interview questions, apply. And some of them they say, oh, we're not ready yet. We're not there yet. We don't feel we are ready. So tell us, how do you encourage them, motivate them?
I would say just apply, even if you feel as though the role it requires certain level of expertise, or it looks like it's a bit challenging in terms of the job description. On the job, most of the time you learn on the job. They don't expect someone that's going to be ready-made, that's going to know everything from the very first day. They're going to train you most of the time. So I would say just apply, and then once you get through the interview stage, it will become a lot easier.
When you started your IT job, when you started applying the tech jobs, of course you had a lot of challenges. You had a lot of difficulties. So can you share with us some of the difficulties you faced and how you overcame?
So interviews are never natural. So when it came to the interviews, that was one of the main challenges that I have faced. At first I was quite nervous. It's never going to feel like the most easygoing experience that you can go through, but it's a gradual process. Eventually you're starting to become more comfortable. Then you start realizing there's a pattern with the interviews as well. They ask a lot of similar questions. And then once you familiarize yourself with the interviews, you then start building more and more confidence. And then from that point onwards, I was able to just realize that it's not as hard as you think it is. And then I was able to just crack on, and alhamdulillah, after a little while, I secured my first job.
Okay. I'm sure you do, Zakaria, maybe they don't know, you do kind of boxing?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
How do you think that helped you to go ahead and have the courage?
With boxing, it's like you have to get familiar with putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. So there's nothing really more uncomfortable than going in a ring with another person and then basically getting punched in the head. So it became like a familiar sort of situation for me to be uncomfortable in comfortable situations. So using my boxing background, it sort of gave me that sort of mindset. And then I just took it into looking for work or looking for IT jobs and just applied that same mindset and approach.
That's quite good. If when you go into the ring with another person, of course, sometimes you lose it, sometimes you win. So, and now some people, they apply IT job and they get rejection. Some of them, they, of course, succeed. So how that taught you, the rejection or losing in the ring, how do you apply that into the tech job?
Okay, so, I've never lost in the ring.
Oh, really?
I'll be honest.
You never ever?
No, not once, man. I'm undefeated, so I don't really understand when it comes to losing in the ring. I'm not too familiar with that. So it became a winning habit. So alhamdulillah, when it came to boxing, I was very successful. But I realized that a loss is only around the corner. So I was always with the mindset, like, if I lose, how would I react? How would I come back? And it's about having that mentality. Like, it's not about how many times you get knocked down. It's about how many times you get up and keep moving forward. So that was the mindset that I took on and the approach that I took.
You really surprised me because you never lost in ring. That's
Didn't
amazing, isn't it?
one of my friends is here and you witnessed it as well. So
who?
Mustafa at the back.
Oh, Mustafa. Okay. But what about if you fight with someone giant and big and huge, like Mustafa? He's quite a big guy. So
yeah, I'll take care of him, man. I'll take care of him.
So basically, you say it's like strategy. It's not like
it's not about size,
the
man.
body size.
No, it's not about that, man. It's all about technique. The technique pays the bills, man.
What about on fire? If you got to ring with on fire?
Maybe not. No. I'm good.
I thought we about.
No.
If you got to ring with it. MashaAllah. Wow, well, that's amazing, MashaAllah. Undefeated champion. And sometimes I go to gym and I'm trying to learn the boxing. So what are the best tips you can share with me?
With boxing, I'll say, like, build your cardio. If you can't really have good cardio, then you can't really do really well when it comes to boxing. So it's about doing the leg work, doing the road work, and doing as much cardio as possible. That's where I would start, and then taking it from there gradually.
Okay. Let me ask another question. When you go to the ring and you bench another human, like someone, how do you feel, man? Because sometimes I'm sure you say, "Oh, don't overdo it," or maybe don't underdo it. So,
man, you're in the wrong business. If you think like that, you're in the wrong business.
Okay. Like a soldier.
Yeah, you have to, man. I'll be so honest.
Of course, you have to kill or you'll be killed.
Exactly, man. It's called killer instinct. You have to have that sort of mentality where you're not really going to think too much about the consequences. It's about just like surviving in that moment.
Of course, that will give you a lot of courage.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow. Okay, when it comes to the, of course, when I applying IT job, of course, you had strategies. Yeah. You built a CV. You went through interview questions. What else do you do in order to succeed and become the Zakaria you are at the moment?
That's a good question, man. What else did I do? I took a lot of time to really approach the challenge of interviews with the most practice as possible. So I constantly practiced. When it came to interview questions, I would walk in the street and literally like say the interview questions and answer to myself in order to be as prepared as possible. So it wasn't something that I did overnight. It took a lot of preparation, a lot of practice, a lot of hours. So it's something that I would constantly practice to the point it became second nature, and I'm speaking as comfortable in the interview as possible. So it was through practice.
Okay. I think that's quite good because, and I'm sure you learned that from the boxing, because in boxing you have to spend a lot of time in the ring. And before the ring, you have to spend in the gym and exercising and doing. And there's a quote from Macalin, he said you have to do a lot of practice and rehearsal before you go to the ring.
Exactly.
Yeah? Okay, in terms of interview, there are 3 different types of questions. But before I go to that, tell us about the CV, because sometimes we have CVs, we build for them, we prepare for them. But what else did you do? I'm sure we gave the 3 CV at the time, I believe.
Yeah, exactly.
So what else did you do in order to modify and make your CV dynamic and adapted to different jobs? Because you cannot use one CV for all different types of jobs.
Exactly.
Yeah, you have to look at the job spec and you have to modify a few things here and there.
Exactly.
So tell us a few things you did with the CV so they can learn from them.
So like Macalin said, one of the main things that I did, each CV that I would put out, I would make sure it's specific to the job description. So it wasn't something where there's a generic IT service desk application or CV. So I would make sure that it was specific to each job role. So that was one of the main things. So the technical skills, I would make sure that they were the most to the point to the job as much as possible. So I'll make sure everything reflects the job description. So anything that you mentioned in terms of skills, in terms of experience, in terms of like where else you may have worked in the past. If you worked in retail, that could be a good thing as well, because it shows that you have customer service experience. So I would say anything that was to the job description, as close to the job description as possible, I would mention it in the CV or like in the interview as well.
That's quite good. When it comes to the question, of course, there will be a lot of questions. And let me divide the questions into 3 groups. One group is technical, like Mithal asking about Abdllah and network save and stuff like that. Yeah. Another section is HR questions. Yeah. A lot of questions will come from HR.
Exactly.
And another set of questions could be like scenario-based questions, or what they call STAR, which means situation and task and things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So can you share at least 3 from each group? Yeah. What are the 3 best or maybe most asked questions about the technical? What about HR questions? And what about scenario-based questions?
Okay.
So if you share with us, with audience online, and also future audience online.
Do you want one question from each category?
Maybe 2, 3, whatever you remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
the more the better, because they can.
Understood.
Okay.
So technical questions. One of the main questions I was asked was, let me think. So they would ask more about concepts about IT. So DHCP, DNS. Those were the main kind of questions that you get asked in terms of technical questions. So just understanding the concepts and being able to explain that you do understand it from your network knowledge, I would say make sure you definitely make a note or 2 about that in your interview questions. In terms of HR questions, you constantly get asked, what's your strengths? What's your weaknesses? Or the most important one is, tell me about you. This, I would say, is one of the most important questions in the whole interview, because it's what makes you stand out from all the other candidates. So if you give a generic, bland just to answer that they may have heard many different times, then you're not really going to stand out as a candidate. So I'd say try put as much thought into that question as possible, because it's the very first question that you ask in the interview as well.
And anything about scenario-based questions?
Scenario-based questions. Okay, so one of the main questions I was asked was, describe a time where you faced a problem that you had to spend time in resolving. So you didn't quite resolve it instantly, but it took you a little bit of a while for you to find out the answer to the question, and just really dig deep and figure out how to fix the issue. That was one of the main questions I was asked.
Okay. You know, people here, they panic sometimes if they receive a call from agents or from employer asking questions. So tell me about DNCB, tell me about DNS, tell me about OSLAs, or maybe tell me this and that. So how do you, what do you think, what's the best way to answer the question, for example? And sometimes they overdo, they believe DNCB is huge, they go through the lecture and they memorize everything. Sometimes they say one sentence, which is not good. So what is the best approach to answer these questions? To go in depth in details, or to be quick and fast, or?
So just grasping the concepts, just being able to describe in a few words what the concept means, what it does, and then not really go into too much detail, because a lot of the recruiters, they're not the most IT savvy themselves, so they might not expect an answer that's too detailed. They might just want surface level answers. So it just really depends on your audience, to who you're speaking to.
So also, they at the end they say, okay, do you have any question for us? So what would you say when it comes to that?
Okay, so there's one that comes to mind straight away. So one of the main questions that I would sort of ask all employers was, if I was to complete my task and my roles and responsibilities within a set amount of time, when can I progress? How quickly can I progress? I think this answer, or this question, it shows that how you're willing to progress within IT. You're not willing to just work at one service desk, just at one level. It shows that you're constantly trying to improve yourself, and also find a way to almost get to the next level. So you don't want to just stay at one level almost.
So when it comes to the HR questions again, and they ask you a question, okay, tell us when you deal with the difficult customer or angry customer or stuff like that, or tell us something you are proud of, yeah? So did you come across these questions?
Yeah, very familiar. Those are the kind of questions you get asked quite a lot. So when I said, back to when I was telling you guys about, there's a sort of format when it comes to the interview questions. So those are the kind of questions that you get asked. How do you deal with a difficult customer? The way I'd answer that question is, I would say that I wouldn't take anything they say personally. At the end of the day, it's just a job. I'm here to just complete my job. So just being able to calm down the situation, being able to speak at a tone where it almost de-escalates the whole situation. So that was one of the main sort of answers that I would give in that sort of scenario.
How many interviews did you go through before you got the first IT job?
Okay.
I know some of the students, they said they want up to 20. Some of them, they're quite lucky, maybe 2, 3. Some of them could be 10, 15. And I know people here, sometimes they apply a few jobs and they say, oh, we're tired. We applied here and there. So it's not easy to get a job, and it's not that hard to get the first IT job. And there's no one answer for every single person.
Exactly.
So tell us and share with us your own experience.
Okay, so it took me 5 interviews for me to land my first job. And the way I approached it, I'll tell you guys right now. So I just came with so much enthusiasm and energy. And the company that I was working at, they had a line of service desk engineers who weren't really doing the numbers that they required. So they just needed someone with energy, someone that was going to almost get rid of the mindset that was at the current workplace. So they wanted someone who was energetic, someone who had enthusiasm, someone who had willingness to complete the role. And I just approached the interview in that manner, and they just basically hired me based off that without asking any technical questions.
Oh, wow. That's good, yeah.
So energy, enthusiasm, it means a lot to the employer. So if you're able to approach the interview with that energy, then you can get quite far with it as well.
So the first IT job, they did not ask you any tech questions.
No technical questions.
I know another person, they mentioned they went to the interview expecting a lot of questions, and the guys talked about football, about Arsenal, about Manchester.
Yeah, I'll just be honest. I support Arsenal, man. That's it.
Okay. So Okay, you received another phone call from the agency or from the employer for the offer or through email?
Yeah, through the agency, and it was a phone call.
Oh, and phone call. So how was you feeling at the time?
I was,
when
yeah.
you received another call, Zakaria, the job he was offering you, and another email will follow up, of course, with the contract and details you have to sign and submit within time. So how was you feeling at the time?
It's an amazing feeling, man. Honestly, it was one of the best feelings. I remember it like it was yesterday. So it was. I shared the information with my mum. She was also really happy as well. So alhamdulillah, like I called you, I think the same day as well.
Yeah.
I said, Macalin, Jazakallah khair for all your hard work and effort as well. So yeah, I was very grateful, alhamdulillah.
And even mom called me because I know mom.
Yeah. Well, it's very hands-on.
MashaAllah. That's good, yeah. And so now, tell us, when you went to the office, of course, first day, normally they give you through the email, welcome, of course, starting
exactly.
date here and there, the address and other information.
Exactly.
So Zakaria went to the job, to the building. And how was your first day when you went to the office, because you came from warehouse, remember?
Yeah, I remember.
And now you are in tech and IT, in maybe prime location, in a big office.
Yeah, exactly.
How was you feeling? How was your first day?
Oh, first day. It was like first day at school. It's like you're just getting used to the whole scenario. They gave me 2 monitors, and a laptop. I was like, what am I going to do with all 3 monitors? So it was very surprising in a good way. But also remember, at first they give you someone that shadows you as well. So they're going to sort of show you the ropes with all of the systems that they use, all the technologies that they use. So you're not going to be left out on your own. And I had a colleague who was ready to answer any of my questions and stuff like that as well. So it was very almost productive, I would say, my first day.
Okay, and when it comes to, for example, you mentioned a few words, shadowing. A lot of people here are not familiar with the shadowing. Yeah, so they believe when they get a job and go to the office, first day, واحد بأي قانون. هذيك لحظة ما ضحنا وقفنا. Do it or of course, what is shadowing and give us some quick overview.
Yeah, sure. So shadowing is when there's another employee at the company who basically shows you around, who explains the entire IT systems to you, who basically goes through tickets, individual requests, any issues. He will basically go through the tickets with you, and then you'd basically work with him for the first week or so. And then once you're familiar with the systems, you can even ask him for help beyond that point. So it's not set to a specific amount of time, but then you still be able to ask your colleagues any questions, any concerns, any comments, anything like that nature. So it's something where you're just given the ability to work with another person who's willing to help you as well. They're going to find someone that's really friendly, someone that's very helpful. So they don't just usually pick up the person who's least liked in the office or anything. They'll find someone that they believe will be a good person for you to follow and to learn from as much as possible as well. So that's what shadowing is, man.
Well done, mashallah, that's quite good. So I'm listen, man, تكون شغلاتك don't expect in hey, here's your job, here are tasks, man, go and do now. Yeah? You will work with someone, yeah? You will shadow. Shadow means يقفك هوسكي سنقول إنسان ولا سعني. Yeah? Whatever that person does, معناها, of course you have to take note, you have to write down, you have to answer, ask questions. That is your job, معناها. Yeah? So you have to follow that person, and always I advise you to have your own notebook. Yeah? Either take a physical notebook or maybe use your phone. Guys, you're digital, صح? Yeah? Use the phone. Yeah? So you can take a lot of notes معناها on the phone as well. And also ask questions, because if they show you something now and you ask another question, similar question, same question again, that's not good. And they hate that. Yeah. So they'll train you, of course, and they'll show you. Some of them are quite good, yeah, as Zakaria mentioned. Some of them are not that like that. So they become irritated if you ask same questions over and over. And how long have you been shadowing?
I'll say it's maybe 1 week.
1 week.
Yeah.
But it varies from one company to another company. Some companies maybe they allow you to shadow for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Some of them only maybe a few days. Some of them a week. But I believe 1 week is more than enough.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So now, Zakaria, what we need to do, take us your typical day. Zakaria goes to the office. Of course, you're not a coffee person. I believe you are water.
Water and milk.
And of course, so when you go to the office and you log into your own system, so give us full information as much as you can. Your typical day.
Okay.
Yeah? Vividly,
Okay.
in depth, in details.
Okay. Sure thing. So in the morning, when I get to my desk, first thing I do, I'll check the communications room, which is a room full of servers. So I would just make sure that the racks are all in order, everything is working, up and running. From then onwards, I'll do my usual checks. So I'll just walk past all the users, just check in with everyone just to see how they're doing, catch up with them, just do some small talk as well, just to see how they're doing kind of thing. It's important to just get your face out there and familiarize yourself with the customers as much as possible, with the users, sorry. So from that point onwards, I'll just check with the users. If they have any issues, I'll fix their problem there and then. If not, I'll ask them to create a ticket, and then I'll take a look at it another time, possibly. So from that point onwards, I would just go to my desk, log into my system, and then I'll just go through the tickets that have been created from the day prior or the week prior, and just work through any of the issues that I have. I'm tasked with looking after the entire service desk, so any first line, second line, third line requests are my responsibility. So I'll work through those issues one at a time. If I do need help, I'll always ask. It's never shy of asking for help. So I'll try to resolve the issues by myself. If not, ask for help. So that will be my day-to-day.
What are the most things you deal with every single day? What sort of issues? Are they related to physical hardware, or maybe network, or maybe applications, Office 365, stuff like that? What are the more...
365 for sure. I'll say 365 issues definitely come up more than others. If there's issues with Outlook, issues with OneDrive issues I've been getting quite a few times as well. Every day there's always one OneDrive issue, which is the cloud storage that companies use to store their Word documents, files, folders, anything of that nature. So I would say 365. I also experienced some network issues as well. Users that work from home are having issues with the VPN, so that's quite common. So yeah, there's a range of issues, man.
You mentioned about OneDrive. So what are the issues with the OneDrive? Because storage was full, or maybe they had issue to log in, or maybe they don't know how to move the files here and there.
Could be that. So there's a number of issues. So like you mentioned, there's some users that are not really familiar with the software itself. So having issues from moving files from one location to another location, making sure that it's backed up. That's another issue. Sometimes the sync can be broken. So they may not have the most live, up-to-date version of the files or folders. So I'm just making sure that's resynced and it's up and running as well. That's another thing.
Okay. In terms of VPN, you mentioned VPN. Of course, VPN is software that allows you to protect the connection. And everyone who works from home, they have to use VPN. The companies will allow you to access and connect the network without VPN. But there's so many types of VPN, and I know people get questioned about VPN. What VPN do you use in your organization? So what sort of VPN you use, or maybe used in the previous roles?
So we use Cisco AnyConnect in our company.
So you use Cisco AnyConnect. Okay. That's one of the VPN systems. But if you look in the market, there are so many different types of VPNs. Yeah, as long as you are familiar with one of them, that's okay. So I take with you on what VPN do you use? Cisco AnyConnect. Yeah.
Write that down.
But then may I follow up another question? Okay, tell us what are the main issues with the VPN. So I believe the main issues you deal every single day. Do you remember some of the issues with the VPN connections?
So sometimes it could be the configuration itself. So it might not be configured correctly. It could be a permissions as well. So the users might not have the relevant permissions for the VPN. So just making sure that they have the right permissions and configurations.
Okay. And sometimes, of course, they missed up the username and password. Yeah?
Could be that as well.
It could be server side. If other people can log in to the VPN or not.
Yeah, it could be.
So you can isolate doing basic stuff like that. Yeah. So that's quite good. Okay, another application that people use a lot is, as you mentioned, Office 365. Can you tell us or share with us, 3 common things you do with Office 365 every single day, typical day?
Main issues. Outlook. So Outlook is like the mail system that people use. So one of the main issues, sometimes users they might not be able to send in emails. Sending, receiving emails might be an issue for some users. What else is there? So could be simple issues with like Word, for example, as well. Excel, spreadsheets sometimes not responding. Could be a number of issues.
Okay. How easy is someone to pick up these applications and learn how to fix them?
It's not too hard, I'll be honest. Once you familiarize yourself with the software, it takes a little while to familiarize yourself. I'll say about a week or so. And then from that point onwards, most of the issues, they're quite reoccurring, so they constantly reoccur. And then once you realize that you've seen this issue before, you put it on your own notepad, you write down the notes on how to fix it in future. So then once you familiarize yourself with the issue, you then have your own knowledge of your knowledge base that you've built, and then you can then start applying the fixes that you've written down yourself.
You know, earlier you mentioned about the ticketing system, and I believe some people take the house and كدوا بالوعي يعمل. That's not the ticketing system. So what is ticketing system, and what ticketing system do you use in your organization?
Okay, so ticketing system is the system that you basically log tickets, so issues that users are facing. So any user issues are called tickets. And the ticketing system I use at my company is called Fresh Service, which is the one that we use.
Most of you have maybe ServiceNow or Freshdesk or Zendesk, and there's so many of them. And as long as you are familiar with one of them, that's it. Yeah, they're not expecting you to know all ticketing system. Yeah, take one and stick to that one. What is a ticket? Issue to fix. Yeah, someone calls you, oh, I'm having an issue with the projector. That's a ticket. Someone calls you, I'm having an issue with the OneDrive. I cannot access. That's another ticket. Someone might call you, oh, I'm having an issue with a microphone. That's another ticket. But I'm sure, Zakaria, sometimes you face issue you never met, you never deal with. You face issue you never seen, you don't know how to fix, yeah? So how do you face these type of challenges?
Okay, so those kind of questions. So no 2 days are exactly the same. You're going to get a day where you have a problem that you never faced before, which is quite common. It happens to me every single day. So I might have a problem from a software-related problem, a hardware-related problem. It could be a network issue. So I have so many issues that I might not have seen before that I have to deal with. So the way I'll deal with these kind of issues is by first just telling the user, just investigating as thorough as possible what the issue is. If there's any error message, that's key. And that's going to help you sort of resolve the issue. And then just explaining to the user, I'm going to check the back end. This is what I always say. I'm going to check the back end and I'll get back to you. That's what I always say. That's like every time what I say. So just explaining to the user that I'm investigating their issue, and I've based it on the information that they've given me from the issue. I then make notes of that and then take a snip as well of the actual error message. And then from that point onwards, I go back to my desk and go on Google search, start figuring out the answers. And then, yeah, from then onwards, I just crack on with it.
So look here, the Google might have the issues, of course.
For sure.
And whenever he says, okay, I'm going to check the back end, the user doesn't know back end.
For sure.
Back end means, hey, I'm going to go and Google.
Exactly. Code, it's code.
Yeah, and that's how they fix issues. هدي وحكاه رمادان حبقين. And if you cannot finish the task, that's what they call escalation. So can you tell us what escalation is and how do you do escalation in your organization?
Yeah, sure. So escalation is when you pass on the ticket to your supervisor or a senior engineer. So when I can't figure out how to fix an issue, I then basically recommend ask for help or escalate the issue. So I'll ask the issue to be forwarded to a senior engineer or someone who's a bit more familiar with the software or a specialist. So sometimes you might even need to call like the vendor, or you might need to call HP or Dell or someone, the manufacturers. So sometimes you might need to escalate the issue and then ask for third parties to look into it as well.
Okay. Let me ask you one of the honest questions, Zakaria.
Go on, man.
ولي مكاهر يمد إلا ما أركتي معناها big issue you said you cannot do this one that's beyond you ما فهمتي ability and ما فهمتي and هدي هاي can you share with us?
Yeah, so let me think. There's a lot of hard issues. ما حتى I saw an issue while بمعنى. I'll be honest. There's an issue today. A user, he would see an email, but then as soon as it pops up on his mailbox, it will disappear.
Wow. Yeah,
so I was like, what is going on? So I sent him a test email and it was staying in his mailbox. But then certain other emails that were appearing were disappearing. I couldn't even figure out how to fix the issue. I said, let me get back to you on that one. That's what I said to him. That's what I said. So I'm going to still think about it hour.
Oh, you haven't fixed it yet?
I haven't fixed it yet. So I'm going to think about it. I'm going to get back to him tomorrow.
Okay. And I'm sure in the organization, of course, you have a knowledge base. The ticketing system has knowledge base. You can go through the knowledge base and you can have maybe similar issues before.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm sure this is not first time happens to you.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, that's quite good. Yeah. So now we talked a lot about when it comes to the daily tasks. But is this first company you're working with?
Second company.
Second company. Okay. Tell us the transition from the first one. What motivated you to move from that one to the second one?
My last company, the first company I worked at, It was MSP, so it's basically a company that basically outsources. Everyone outsources their IT issues to one company. So it's basically a very good company for you to learn different technologies, different systems, different softwares. So it's a very good company to start. It's called an MSP, Managed Service Provider. So I worked at a company. I learned as much as I could from there. But I'll be honest, it was a toxic workplace. As soon as I walk into the office, well, it's called I loved it though, man. I loved it.
Really?
I loved it, man. So much. I was like, this is the place to be. It felt like I was going to college, man, and sometimes, innit? It was raha. So anyway, I was learning as much as possible. But it became a point where I said to myself, I'm not really progressing as much as I'd like to. So it reached the point where I was like, I'm not really being forwarded the difficult issues. I kept on being given the password resets, the simple issues, when I wanted to learn as much as possible. So that was the main reason why I said to myself, you know what, let's go and see what's out there, really. So that is the main reason why I joined the current company that I'm at right now. So I've been here for about 2 years now. So it's been going relatively well. So yeah, alhamdulillah.
Okay. If I go back to your answer, you mentioned MSP, and a lot of people are not familiar with MSP. And remember, هذا شغالين online في لسان, a lot of them are MSP. What's MSP? Managed Service Provider. Another important thing that Zach mentioned is don't go into comfort zone. So what's the comfort zone? Adam Zakaria, he worked first IT job, I believe, for 1 year. Yeah, and he felt comfortable. Yeah, all what you do is create user account, reset password, basic Wi-Fi issues, basic maybe email here and there. But that's not good. There are no challenges. Yeah. So if you become like that, it's a time to move on. Yeah. And I tell my students, GlobalNet, don't stay one position more than a year. 6 months might be the best option, but after that is the time to move on. Unless you learn a lot, unless the company is big, yeah, and you want to grow high within the company, yeah, because organizations are not the same. waxaan arkay gabdhaha mid kamid waxay dhahdaa macalin qof aa jooga meesha 25 years first line 25 years
Subhanallah.
waa da'diisa taa weli ma gaarin 25 years
Well, I'm 26.
26 ooh. Imagine working the same position for 25 years
Subhanallah.
first line. Why? Because dadka qaarkood macnaha they have fear of macnaha change. They don't want to move. They are part of the furniture. Yeah? meeshay joogaan ana khalaas meeshooda joogayaan till la dhaho we're done and finished with you guys. Yeah, go home. This is B45. So with the second company, are you doing the same thing or are you doing different?
Different, definitely different. So the first company I was mainly first line. This company I deal with all the support requests. So anything software related, cybersecurity related, network related. I have a hands-on view of those tickets, view of those issues, and get to work with quite closely cybersecurity professionals and network professionals also. So I have a much more hands-on approach to like more advanced technologies.
And of course, the money is not the same.
No, definitely not.
So now you are 3 years in tech. Alhamdulillah, you're doing good. You do first, second line?
Yeah, first, second.
First, second line. Okay. Based on your knowledge, of course, moving from the first job to second job, it's not as challenging as getting the first IT job.
Yeah, true.
Because you're already in tech. You already know, familiar with the system. You know, what they're going to ask. You have inside knowledge. Yeah. But the first IT job is the main challenge. I hope you agree with me.
No, 100%, I agree.
Okay. So now, if I ask you, 3 years in tech, quite a lot. So how do you see the tech market? Is the tech market now growing? A lot of jobs.
Yeah,
so
for
tech
sure.
market is stagnant at the moment. So tell us what do you think in the tech market?
So the tech market is always like increasing, is constantly expanding. So there are always emerging technologies. For instance, cloud computing. Many companies are migrating to the cloud. So there's lots of opportunities in terms of cloud computing. There's lots of opportunities also in cybersecurity. So there's constant threats that are being posed at companies, and being able to position yourself to be able to be a cybersecurity professional is a goal that I have personally, and I see a lot of like growth and sort of development within that sector also. So tech sector, there's always jobs. There's always like a specific technology that's new and that's fresh on the scene. So there's always opportunities out there.
In terms of challenges, in the last 3 years, can you mention maybe 2-3 challenges you faced? Could be technical, could be not technical, could be life, professional life. So do you know any challenge or challenges you face and how do you overcome?
Sometimes you might have personality clashes as well. And there could be people that you don't really get on with too well. But then at the end of the day, if you just realise that you're colleagues and nothing more, and take a professional approach into your relationship, then I guess it will always work out in the best way. So I'd say, even if you don't get on well with a person, just understand that they're a colleague at the end of the day. They can actually help you, and you can help them. So just never just burning bridges is one thing that I would recommend you guys never to do. So that would be one of my main challenges, man.
That's good, mashallah. On your knowledge, now we receive a lot of sisters in tech. And some of them are joining their classes, some of them are getting jobs, mashallah, here at Stonebridge, yeah? And how easy do you think for sisters to join the tech sector? In your experience, have you seen some Somali sisters, not Somali sisters in tech?
Yes.
How easy for them, for the companies to employ them?
I would say there's always schemes where, for instance, companies are looking to hire diverse members or staff. So I'd say being a sister, it makes you stand out even more, if anything. So the fact that you've studied the courses, you've applied yourself, you've made your CV, instantly you're already standing out in a good way. So I'd say, I would suggest that, in my experience, I've seen many sisters, and it's been nothing more than positive from what I've heard. Their sort of recommendations of working in the sector is as well. So I'd say that don't let it be a hindrance. See it as a way of you standing out, if anything, as well.
That's quite good. In terms of culture, of course, you worked in warehouse before, now you work in tech sector. So how's the culture, company culture, when it comes to praying, going to Jum'ah, praying, Dhuhr, Asr, whatever, sometimes working from home? I'm not sure if you work from home.
I work from home as well.
So tell us, do you work from home 5 days? Or?
No, not 5 days.
Okay.
So
tell us, company culture.
Yeah. So most companies, as soon as you work in the tech sector or any sector, there is a, what's it called? There's a law that doesn't allow you to discriminate. So so when it comes to praying, they gave me the facilities to pray. They didn't tell me only one way.
Equal opportunities?
The Equal Opportunities Act, exactly, man. Thank you. So there's the Equal Opportunities Act. So when it comes to your praying, I remember the first employer that I worked at, he didn't tell me one prayer room, he told me 2 prayer rooms, and he even told me where the masjid is as well. So he basically put me on free game, and alhamdulillah, he helped me out as much as possible. So they don't get in your way when it comes to your deen and your sort of your values. So they help you out, if anything. So they don't make it difficult at all.
We have a lot of young people, and you're very young, mashallah, 26. And when you got the job, of course, you were 23, I believe. Or
yeah,
22.
That's right, man.
So, what is your advice for young Somali people here in UK, in Europe, in America, in Canada, even back home? Yeah, because you have a lot of 70% of Somalis are young. Yeah. So, what is your best advice to the young people who are listening to this session?
I'll say, take advantage. You have a lot of opportunities here. You have youth on your side. You've learnt the language. You don't even need to learn the language. Sorry. You have a lot of opportunities. Macalin has provided you the platform. You have the reference. You have the skills. You have the opportunities, and all it takes now is for you to start applying yourself. So I'd say definitely go out there and just do the best that you can as well.
So now you are in tech sector for 3 years, and you are first and second line. So what is the next step for you? What's next journey in tech? Where would you like to be in the next maybe 4 or 5 years?
Okay. So I would like to specialize in cybersecurity. Cybersecurity requires you to have a good knowledge of networking and understanding how networks work with each other. So I've just refreshed my knowledge on the networking courses. So I would say that my next step is now to start pursuing Security Plus, which is the next certification I'm looking at. So my goal is to specialize in cybersecurity and become a senior cybersecurity specialist, if not something more, inshallah.
I think we covered a lot of questions, guys. And Zakaria has been working the entire day. Yeah, he's quite young, mashallah, energetic, but he answered all your questions. And I'm proud, Zakaria, to be here tonight with us. You know, he had a very busy day, busy schedule, but he said, I'm willing to share my experience with other students. Yeah, so that's a huge advantage. So can we give him